Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology, coming to you every Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock right here on AM 590, The Answer. Well, we got a bang-up show going for you today. I'll tell you what, we have so much material, I don't know which one to start with first. But we do have a guest on with us. Her name is Deena Murray. Deena works with me and kids. She runs her own corporation, RCDL Enterprises. She is a corporate development consultant, and we contract with her. And she has just been such a delight to work with me and kids. She is so knowledgeable and understanding the issues and helping me, especially administratively. We've kind of had to reposition Million Kids and make a lot of changes this year. This show is brought to you by Million Kids, Million, and that is because more than 1 million kids are trafficked each year throughout the world. Now, it's not 1 million kids, not a million kids. We're just simply millionkids.org. And I'd encourage you to follow us because you will get the education of a lifetime if you're interested in keeping kids safe from predators, which is really what we're all about. So I want to share with you, and Deena will be jumping in off and on here. Deena has helped me a lot with research. I have tens of thousands of hours of research. If you don't know, we are known for being a law enforcement and first responder trainer. We serve as the training and outreach coordinator for the Riverside County Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force. Just a dynamite group of men and women, about 13 of them, some stationed here in Riverside, some out in the desert, and going after the worst of the worst, and that is people who sell other people's bodies. And I believe that if that's a child's body, it doesn't get any worse than that. And it is our privilege to serve with them. I am blessed to be with them. I've been their training and outreach coordinator almost 10 years now. Hard to believe what a ride it has been. And so we take calls from parents who have kids that, hooked up with somebody on a dating site or a chat room. And we're going to talk about some of that today. And then poof, they're gone, or maybe they're being blackmailed, or even worse, maybe they're being forced into forced prostitution, which in the state of California is called sex trafficking. If it's a forced prostitution, or if you're engaged in commercial sex and you're a minor, that is called human trafficking, sex trafficking. And we assist and intervene and help get them off to the resources that they need. And we support by doing intervention and prevention. So one of the things you're going to find out today is, and Deena, first of all, let me give Deena an in here before I get started, because I already warned her I'm going to dominate this first section. But Deena, you want to say hello and just give us a little bit about your background and who you are?
Absolutely. Thank you, Opal. I am, I think, first and foremost, a mom to 12 kids. So This is near and dear to me. I am also now a grandma. So it really resonates especially when I see my children or grandchildren on social media at early ages with no boundaries. So the more I learn, the more I'm teaching my family.
It gets interesting whenever people get involved with this subject. It's like, oh, Mom, Right. Well, just to give everybody a heads up, we are not against technology. These kids are going to learn to live in the world without borders and a home without walls. That's a movie that we're going to be having coming out here, hopefully in early spring, depending on the COVID standards. But, our kids are going to live in the world of technology. They are. And it is how it is. I often share with Deena and others that it's a little bit like when we got cars, and the cars came up and Mom and Dad thought they were really cool, and it was okay at first, but then, pretty soon they went a little faster and a little farther, and it's like, wait a minute, where are they going? And now they're speeding, and now they got 4 kids in the car, and now you never see them again, and they're taking chances. Well, we have to teach our kids to live in a world of technology, because we're into the high-speed worldwide model, if you can equate it to a car. And we have to teach our kids to use technology in a way that empowers themselves and empowers others, but also for them to understand how the internet is made and how bad people use it so that you don't fall prey. It's a crazy thing to me that we put our children online and we don't tell them, how it works so they can protect themselves. Well, I'd already warned Deena here that her and I go back and forth all day long on email, and something happened this weekend, and I really want to bring it to your attention, and then we will go back to Deena here because I want to talk about this app having to do with pets and tagged and like that. And Deena does a lot of research on that. That's why I wanted to have her on. But something happened yesterday that just has me so fired up. And there is not a whole lot I can do about it other than what the mission is of me and kids and what we are choosing to do about it. What happened, and many of you have heard me talk about this, and in 2016, we got Proposition 57. And that proposition was slickly written, in my opinion. This is my opinion, by the way, not the Department of Justice, who I report to. But it was slickly written, and it basically convinced the public that it would, if you pass Proposition 57, we can let nonviolent offenders out of prison early, and that way we don't have to build many prisons. So it's one of those feel-good kind of things. You go, well, as long as they're not violent and they've been rehabilitated, and there was all these millions of dollars worth of ads, and, Jerry Brown is up there saying, hey, it's not going to include sex offenders. And by the way, the Attorney General at the time was the lady that is now probably our Vice President, Kamala Harris. And they basically were saying, no, it won't include sex offenders. But it was one of those bills that you needed to sign it and approve it before anybody would tell you what was in it. And where it went wrong is that everybody chose the idea that if it nonviolent meant, you weren't violent. That's what they thought, logical. But you're dealing with the California Penal Code, and there were really only 13 violent crimes in the California Penal Code. And, sex with a child is not one of them. Child sex trafficking is not one of them. I think it should have been, but it was not. By the way, sex with a dead person wasn't violent. It sounds like rape to me. But anyway, and so it passed. It passed with, I think the number was 67% of votes. Well, then what happened is in 2018, and you've heard me talk about it if you're a longtime follower of this, an anonymous person who we now got the name of in one of these articles, an anonymous person, it was 64% that passed, by the way. An anonymous person filed a lawsuit against the state of California saying that they were in prison as a sex offender and that they could not get out early because of discrimination. And so Judge Alan Sumner out of Sacramento, by the way, it turns out this man is from Los Angeles that filed the lawsuit. But Judge Alan Sumner, who heard the case in Sacramento, said, you know what? I think you're right. And I think that sex offenders should not be discriminated about. And so therefore, they passed the law and made a judgment that sex offenders could be considered for early parole and not be discriminated against. Well, Jerry Brown, on his way out of office, said, oh, no, we'll just, and me and kids got involved. We raised money. We got thousands of signatures. We sent off to Sacramento. And Jerry Brown said, well, okay, we'll make it so that, I'll follow the appeals court. Well, of course, he's on his way out and Kamala Harris is on her way to the Senate. And so we're following the appeals court. Well, it went all the way to the Supreme Court. And yesterday, it came out, the California Supreme Court ruled Monday that inmates who have been convicted of nonviolent sex crimes may be eligible for early parole consideration as part of the ballot measure of the 2/3 voters approved. They're referring to the 64% that approved Proposition 57. Here's what is absolutely sets me on fire. The initiative's language, this is the judge speaking, okay? Justice, California Supreme Court Chief Justice Tani Cantil-Sakayui, I believe it is, says the initial language provides no indication that the voters, that would be you, she's blaming you, intended to allow Corrections Department to create a wholesale exclusion from parole considerations. In other words, she said that if you were smart voters, you would have demanded that wording be in the bill before you voted for it, but you didn't, and so therefore you must not have wanted it. Does that just blow your mind? This is Opal Singleton. We're coming up against a break, so we're going to ask you to stay with us here. We're going to put Deena back on in a minute. We'll be right with you.
Real estate sales in the Inland Empire are really hot. Sellers and buyers recognize that these low interest rates will not last. Sean and Colleen at Caldwell Banker Armstrong Properties in Riverside are proud to sponsor this show. They are the best in the Inland Empire. They're fair, honest, creative, and they care about you and your situation. If you're in the market to buy or sell a home, call Sean and Colleen at 951-529-4066.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. Hey, there are many good restaurants in the Inland Empire, but really great restaurants are hard to find. Let me tell you about the Toasted Barrel in Corona. It's a trendy, upscale steakhouse with great pasta and seafood. It's a fantastic choice for birthdays and anniversaries or just that special night out with your loved one and friends. Inland Empire magazine has awarded them Best Restaurant and Brunch for the past 3 years. The owners, Ed and Shirley, are friendly and attentive to your needs. If you're a prime rib connoisseur, this place is for you. Go ahead and try it out. The Toasted Barrel, located at 1300 El Sobrante Road in Corona. Or Google them at Toasted Barrel to make reservations. I guarantee you, you're going to love it. Be sure and tell Ed and Shirley that Opal sent you. It will be a night you'll never forget.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the dark net will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.
AM 590, The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton, and today our guest is Deena Murray, who works closely with me and kids. She runs her own organization, RCDL Enterprises. She is a corporate consultant and assists us in many ways. We've had to completely reconfigure our business model this year because of the COVID-19. We're not out making speeches and selling books and like that. And on top of it, we were removed from Facebook. We're having to rebuild our Facebook page. We'd certainly appreciate it if you'd go on Facebook and find IE Million Kids and hit like. We lost 14,000 followers and we're having to rebuild. Apparently, some of the big tech folks didn't appreciate my politics, and it'll be interesting to see after today's show. But anyway, we'd ask you to go to millionkids.org. and sign up for our newsletters and our insider alerts where we educate you on these cases, and also try to find IE Million Kids on Facebook and like us. I'd appreciate it. And by the way, if you want to support us financially, we would really appreciate that. This is a tough business. So in Proposition 57 passed, and then in 2018, we had this challenge to the law by an anonymous sex offender. We now have a name for that person. I was going to come up. His name is Gregory Gadlin out of Los Angeles. He had served 25 years for assault. He had a prior conviction as a sex crimes in there. So he had what we call a sentence enhancement on there. And so, the judge, this case was filed by the Alliance for Constitutional Sex Offense Laws and represented him. And Judge Alan Sumner agreed with it. And now it's gone to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court has ruled that you as the voter, if you had wanted it to include sex offenders, you would have decided to put that wording in there before you voted on it. Well, that's how all of this works, folks. Now Jerry Brown is going, oh, well, I never really intended for it to include sex offenders. Well, if you didn't, you could have put that in the law and quit blaming the voters for approving it. And that is where I'm coming from. Here's where we're going to come down on this thing. So this has been passed. And, me and kids, we've been fighting the fight all the way through on this thing. But it is a done deal. It's gone through the California Supreme Court, and it is what it is. And so who knows where this is going to turn out? It is believed that it is possible that 20,000 sex offenders will be considered for early release. Now, whether or not they get out, that's a whole nother ballgame, depending on the judge and their background. But this ruling went so far as to release any obligation for sentence enhancement. In other words, some of these guys would get 20 years, but they'd get an additional 10 years because they were carrying a gun at the time. Doesn't that sound kind of violent to you? That's not violent, okay? But maybe they were part of a gang. Maybe it was a rape. Maybe it was a sex trafficking case. And, they are now saying that under this case and the ruling that even the sentence enhancements will not be considered, and they can be considered for early release. It basically decriminalizes crime, in my opinion. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating as heck for Deena and I, who spend our days trying to keep kids safe from predators, because we deal with child sex trafficking. And I believe that ought to be a violent crime. And, like so many people back there in Proposition 57, you just assumed it is. But it is not in the California Penal Code. Recently, you had Proposition 20 that would have added 51 more crimes to be considered violent crimes. But again, even though we beat our head against the wall and we screamed and yelled on the radio and did everything we knew to do, it did not pass. So we are where we are. And this is a challenging place for a company like Me and Kids, which is why I appreciate somebody like Deena, who has a good corporate mindset and background to come alongside with us and help us work our way through this. What can we do? Well, the legislation probably isn't going to get it at this point. It's been voted on twice by a naive public. So one of the things we can do is educate you about the fact that just because it says it's nonviolent doesn't mean that it's nonviolent. What happens with so many of these kids that get involved in this, they go on a dating site, and that's why I have Deena on. In the next two segments, we are going to talk about dating sites on the internet and how all of this works. But whether you're an adult or a 14-year-old kid, you get on a dating site, you get in a video game chat room, maybe you hook up because you like his tattoos on Instagram, or you're twerking on TikTok and some guy's following that particular segment and reaches out to you telling you you're hot. And when you're 14, you're looking for a lot of love and a lot of approval, and often in the wrong places. And they hook up with these guys, and by the time that they have a fantasy relationship, that is what the book Seduced, The Grooming of America's Teenagers is all about. By the time they're knee deep right up to their ears in a fantasy relationship, they don't realize they're moving into an exploitive, not even relationship. He is a pimp, he is a predator, and he is putting her out for forced prostitution. And this is taking place all over the nation and in Southern California. We call it human trafficking or sex trafficking. It is the fastest growing crime in America. And I'm going to tell you, it's going to get even bigger because you have all of these kids that make videos and they're live streaming and they're twerking and they're doing their thing. And some of them are dry humping. And, they're just prey for predators who seek you out, and you think you're in a relationship and you sense that it's not right, but it's all you have, and you're going to hang on. And the next thing you know, you are 14, 15, 16 years old, and you belong to a pimp, and you never thought it would happen to you. I have never met a victim yet that realized or thought that it would happen to them, or that they even understood once they're deep in how to get back out. Oftentimes, they will meet up on the internet and just sneak out. I can't tell you the number of cases. If you'll follow us at meandkids.org and listen to our insider alerts, the number of cases, I'm going to do one this next week on a 14-year-old, I think she was, or 16. I think she was 14. She snuck out in the middle of the night and actually ended up on an airplane going back east. Her parents were out of their mind. That's where Me and Kids gets involved as the training and outreach coordinator. Parents call us. We run Me and Kids, Missing Kids. There is nothing more terrifying to a parent to have a 14-year-old kid that is poof, gone. You don't know if they're in Vegas or Los Angeles or Chicago or Tijuana. You don't know if they're safe or if they're turning tricks out on the boulevard. You don't know. And that is the loneliest place in the world for a parent. And that's why we run Me and Kids, Missing Kids, and why Deena Murray has come alongside with us to help us expand that capability, because she sees this now in the research. We are going to go deep into a couple of apps of how all this works, but I'm going to tell you that I am frustrated as heck that all of this has happened, okay? Now, Deena and I and Chris and several other people that work with us, we are committed to prevention and intervention. I can't change the law now. There's been 2 votes on it, but I can wake up parents and I can wake up grandparents and I can talk to kids, and we can create a video to teach kids how the internet works and how it's made and how to protect their younger brothers and sisters. Kids don't want to be violated, but we're putting them out in the middle of the freeway without telling them there are cars on the freeway. And then when they get ran over, we blame Caltrans. Well, we can't do that technically. I'm talking about virtually. We put our kids on the World Wide Web. We don't tell them about the dark web. We don't tell them what a pedophile is. We don't tell them why dry humping will get them a lot of attention that they don't want. And we don't tell them how dating sites really work. And so therefore, you're leaving a hormonal 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old kid out there who wants attention, who wants to be loved, and we're putting them right out on the freeway without equipping them to tell them the world they're living in. We got to change this, folks. I cannot change this legislation. It's a done deal. It's gone to the California Supreme Court. I can tell you that I'm frosted over it. I tell Dean every now and then, this frosts my cookies, okay, in lieu of less Christian language. But some days you just think, how do you deal with it? If you want to support our work, please go to meandkids.org, hit that donate button. If you're old-fashioned, you want to send us a check, trust me, I go to that mailbox all the time. These are hard times with COVID. But we are going to beat this. We're going to take it on, and we are going to convince the world how to stay safe on the internet. Be right back. Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited, Crimes and Technology. I want to tell you about a book I wrote called Seduced, The Grooming of America's Teenagers. It's all about how predators access, groom, recruit, and exploit our young people using social media, online gaming, video chat rooms. Technology is changing at the speed of light, and we have to understand how to keep our kids safe from predators. So you can get this book by going to www.meandkids.org. It's $16. I'll sign it and I'll ship it to you personally. We hope that you will order this book, educate yourself about how to keep our kids safe in this day of changing technology. Join us each Saturday for our radio show at Exploited, Crimes and Technology at 3 o'clock. Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton and Deena Murray today. And Deena just reminded me at the break that case I just talked about, the girl was 12. He is a self-proclaimed pedophile, a white supremacist. She's a prepubescent 12-year-old girl. What do you know about 12s? You know, they're innocent, or they should be. And they need to know who they are before they get in a sexual relationship. But she went online. Get this, he lives in Virginia and she lives in Fresno, California. That's what I mean by a world without borders. They never would have met. But he met her through social media. He groomed her. He seduced her. He talked to her for 2 months without her parents, without them even knowing. She got a fantasy relationship of him being somebody other than he is. Do you know he's 69 years old and he's quite ugly? She's 12. If she had met him in person, she would be absolutely repelled. He flew to California and got her to sneak out of the house at 2 o'clock in the morning. Keep in mind, that's what grooming's all about. You know, they don't kidnap you. They get you to cooperate because you get a fantasy relationship. They took a ride share to the airport and got on a plane for Washington, D.C. Fortunately, the parents missed her. They got the police and they caught them in a layover in Denver. The odds of that happening are almost zero. So when they searched his home, he had been sending her pornographic images she had been sending him pornographic images of herself. He also runs a website promoting raping of children, sharing photos and videos, and children being raped. How would you like your 12-year-old daughter to get on a plane while you're sleeping and disappear with a creep like that? And guess what? It is not a violent offense in the state of California. Let me say that one more time. It is not a violent offense. Can you imagine? So with that, one of the things that Deena helps me with is research. And I've been getting, you can well imagine with all the research I do, I get some interesting emails. But I have to understand the dark side of the world, okay? If I'm going to educate you, you don't have to see all the stuff I see. You know, God protects me and I process it and move it along. But I got one while I was actually off on my honeymoon, having a good time in Cancun, and all of it never ends. Anyway, and thank you for Deena backing me up while I was gone. It was great. But while I was gone, I started getting these things from Pets, P-E-T-S, and it says you want to play. And it's got pictures. It's a dating site, you know, kind of like a Scout or Meet Me or Tinder or Match, Zeus, Plenty of Fish, even eHarmony sometimes. And widows and widowers are the worst, by the way. There are no widowers on there. I'm telling you, they're all pimps. That's how it looked to me anyway. Anyway, I looked at these men who they want me to meet, and I swear 80% of them look like pimps. And after 10 years of this business, I know pretty much what one looks like. And I sent it off to Deena and I said, what the heck is this all about? I'm on vacation. It's your turn. Yes. So Deena, with that, tell us all about this thing called Pets and Tagged.
Well, Tagged started out as a social networking site for teens, actually.
Really?
And yeah, it was for teens. It has now evolved into the typical ages 20s, 30s, 40s. The average age is 30. They claim they have over 100 million users globally. And one of the options through Tagged, and it is social networking, it has become a dating site. One of the options is a game they call Pets. And you think about that, pets, everybody has a pet. We love our pets. Well, Pets is a game where you buy and sell other humans. So you join
Could I stop you there?
Sure.
Would you repeat that? I mean, that kind of sounds like trafficking to me.
Well, that's what I thought when I saw it. It's where you buy and sell humans and you earn points. They call it gold by how much your pets are worth. So you sell them, you buy them back, you keep trying to upgrade. And it blows my mind that is a legit game. They don't say how many people are actually on the pets game, but they say it's their number one game offered through Tagged.
So they have 100 million users on Tagged, and their top one is Pets.
Pets.
Where you have all these guys on here, at least they identified that I was a female, apparently, because they're offering me all these guys that look like,
Yeah.
It looks bad, and 100 million users, and this is their top site. This is just insane.
It's crazy. I just can't believe in this day and age that would even be a legit. And it is legit, because when we were looking at it, it was, is this something that maybe is set up for traffickers, pedophiles? It's not. It's a site, to use their words, where you can flirt with other people. Now, when you start looking at some of the reviews from actual users, they talk about how the profiles, very few are legit. Most of them are fake. They talk about how you can earn diamonds, and I guess you turn the diamonds into gold or vice versa, which gives you more points, that the women will post photos of themselves in provocative clothing to earn more diamonds. So there is a side to it that is, they call it more risky than some of the others, like a Facebook or some of the more mainstream. But the idea, again, that you would buy and sell humans, and that's a game, a legit game on a legit site, is crazy.
Deena, when I read this, the first thing I thought about was the Bulldog gang up in Fresno. That was the men 19 to 52 years old, and they would go on dating sites across the nation like Match and Zoosk and some of those. And they would meet lonely women or widows or people who had nothing going in their lives. And they would build these fantasy relationships. And this is the reason why I really wanted you on. I want the public to understand just how vulnerable adults and kids can be through these kinds of social media. Because what happened in the Bulldog gang is that they would, work these women so that they began absolutely fantasize, fall in love. They were going to take care of them. They were going to make money. They were going to have fancy cars. He was going to come, and they were going to make this relationship, and they were all pimps. And, before long, they had these poor women out there in forced prostitution, and they're taking all the money. And by this time, they're absolutely brainwashed because of starting out with a fantasy relationship, but then moving into being damaged goods and having photos and being blackmailed and being put out on sex sites and in degrading kinds of things. And so when you told me about this, I couldn't help but think about the Bulldog gang, because this thing is prime for it. And we talked to a security analyst that we work with, a cybersecurity analyst, and he said, yes, there is evidence that some of them are being used to sell undercover drugs and also as a sex site. So we are looking into it. But keep going with what you're saying, because I can just see what an easy recruiting thing this is.
Well, and again, because it was geared toward teens when it started, and they're saying the average age is 30. So we're not talking just kids, but we also know that there are a lot of vulnerable young people. Maybe they're 20, 21. And we also know that people aren't growing up. Their age doesn't always match their chronological age. So you may have a 21, 22-year-old on here who is more like a 16-year-old in development, especially if they've gone through trauma, or they've gone through, they've been in foster care, or they've been in an abusive situation growing up, or molested. So
or divorcee.
Right. Oh, right.
Divorced,
right. Who's been hurt. Yeah. Yes. Who's been hurt. So it definitely, it just, and the idea again, I keep saying it, but that you can buy and sell humans. Yeah. Who even would go on there and do that is just mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's any kind of competition, when people start to mix drama and melodrama and fantasy and the what ifs, and we're just playing a game. There's an app out there called Second Life, and people are playing this game. Many married people are playing that game, and they end up being divorced because the fantasy is never as good as the reality. And that's the challenge with dating sites. You meet strangers and they always look better than they are.
Definitely.
It gets interesting. It really does. Well, my name is Opal Singleton. We have Deena Murray as our guest today. Our organization is millionkids.org. I hope you'll support us and ask you to stay tuned, and we're going to be right back.
This message is all about Million Kids, the organization that helps locate missing kids throughout Southern California and educates to keep kids safe from predators. Million Kids educates school administrators, teachers, parents, and teenagers how predators identify a potential victim and the methods they use to recruit innocent kids. BMW of Riverside is a proud supporter of Million Kids. Visit BMW of Riverside at the Adams Street exit off the 91 freeway or click bmwofriverside.com.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. Let me tell you about my friend Doris Anderson at Remax Realty in Upland. She is amazing. She's kind, she's patient, but she listens, and she's informed, and she will help you with your real estate transaction in a way that works for you. Doris, in full disclosure, often supports the work of Million Kids because she cares about young people. But she knows how to analyze a market, how to market a property, and how to find just the right transaction for both buyers and sellers. If you're looking to buy or sell real estate or invest in income property, contact Doris Anderson at Remax Realty 951-733-8899. That's 951-733-8899. 951-733-8899.
Custom Service Systems, a proud supporter of Million Kids, is a family-owned and operated commercial cleaning company servicing the Inland Empire and surrounding areas since 1974. CSS takes pride in their ability to maintain the business facilities they serve and their long-lasting relationships with their valued clients. CSS provides a variety of cleaning systems customized to client needs, including deep cleaning and disinfectant to be COVID-19 compliant. From basic office cleaning to windows and floors, CSS will clean up your mess so you don't have to stress. Custom Service Systems cares about families and communities and wants to give back. Custom Service Systems are proud supporters of Million Kids to keep kids safe from predators. If you need the best cleaning services for your business or corporation, contact Custom Service Systems at cssclean.com. Again, cssclean.com, or call 951-781-9345. That's 951-781-9345. You will know you found the best. Custom Service Systems.
AM 590. The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton, and today our guest is Deena Murray, and she works through her corporation closely with Million Kids and helping us in our corporate development to try to help us get an education program out there to more people in a broader way, but in also a targeted way. So she's helping us develop Million Kids Insider Alerts, so that if you want more of these kinds of information about the latest apps, the latest laws, or various kinds of criminal activity that are taking place and how they are changing, like money laundering and sex trafficking and child pornography, social media exploitation, you can follow us at millionkids.org and sign up. Go in there for the newsletter and sign up for Million Kids Insider Alerts, and we will educate you. Deena, one of the other things that you brought up to my attention here that I did not realize how much the app called Live has grown since I've looked at it. Tell the audience here a little bit about the Live app.
Yes, Live is a new development within Tagged, and it is actually a live streaming, but it's not one-on-one live streaming. It is live streaming to a group of people. And they say that is just growing. And we know, and I know you've talked about that, Opal, how live streaming is becoming the wave of the future here of just everybody going live streaming. And of course, when you're talking about what we're talking about, and when you come to exploitation and all of that, live streaming exploitation is becoming a big deal. And from what I can tell on Tagged, although they give you the options to report something that crosses the line, from the reviews I read, the people who had reported things never heard back from Tagged. So it sounds like you probably can get away with quite a bit, which then I would assume means if you're live streaming something that's inappropriate, you probably can get away with things that cross the line. And in exchange for that live streaming, you win gifts and prizes from your viewers. So as you mentioned, when things start getting competitive and people are trying to earn things, they may cross the line where they wouldn't otherwise. So yes, it's very interesting.
My apologies. First of all, it is not a separate app, and I threw you off on that. It is an option. I didn't pick that up, but there's something very, very important for our audience here that I wanted to bring out that you uncovered in your research, and I really want. First of all, I value very much how much you have supported us in the research that you're doing. But what is important here, folks, is that we're taking this relationship, this online relationship, to a whole new dimension. And this is important for you as parents and grandparents to understand. You're no longer just texting. As you know, kids text all day long. There's some incredible numbers. I've forgotten them now, but it's like 6 hours a day or something that the kids text. But you no longer are doing that. That's the beauty of TikTok and for kids, and the beauty of Byte, B-Y-T-E, and some of the others that are out there like L-I-K-E. What this is, and live is a version of this. You no longer are just texting back and forth. You are making a live stream kind of video, and it is two-way communication. So you literally are reaching the entire world. When you send out in this thing, any member with their phone can set up the broadcast, and anybody who views it can chat directly in real time with the streamer and other viewers. So what do you have here? You have somebody looking for attention, making a video, and anybody can reach back and talk to you and interact with you. So you no longer are talking with just that group of people you are live streaming, and it is two-way communication. This is important to understand how it changes relationships or perceived relationships in our kids, because they feel obligated, they feel engaged. They are now one-on-one in a world without borders. And this is very important. It allows predators all over the world to connect with our children. If your child is on Tagged and they're using the live option, whoever else is on that app is somebody who is going to try to engage with you and develop a pseudo relationship. And they even put a competition into it, as you said here. You were saying, Deena, what makes live successful are the virtual gifts. You want to talk about that?
Right. So you can reward the people you are streaming with live streaming, and those gifts cost money. So we bring in a whole, how do you monetize it? Well, the gifts cost money. So this site, Tagged, was in the top 10 sites for 2019 for making the most money.
Wow.
So they're doing quite well. And again, so everybody, if you like what the girl is doing on the other side, you give her a gift. And so what does that do? It tells the girl that the more she does, the more gifts she gets.
Yep.
The more gifts she gets, the more she wins, and they're off to the races.
And all you have to do is record that and send that, and you start, the blackmail begins, and off you go. I have often said that interactive pornography or webcam sex will be the biggest crime in the world, probably by the end of 2021, because you're going to have live streaming, you're going to have artificial intelligence, you're going to have mass audience live streaming, and it'll be connected to money. And we call that the vortex, and that's one of the things that we train on, is how that coming together will change the world. So we really are in it. I'm going to close out here in a minute, but Deena, do you have anything else you'd like to share with the audience?
Well, just something you said right there. I just learned this week, as well as some of my research, that a lot of these live streaming of sex, they're not charging for the live streaming of sex piece of it.
Right.
They're charging for the time that they spend talking with the viewers. So you can watch the sex for free, but if you want to talk to the girl, that's where she makes her $100 for 10 minutes.
Right. And you know what's interesting when I studied that is the finance people that handle the credit cards and the payments and the PayPal and all that, they charge around 7 to 10% of all their earnings. And I say to myself, isn't that pimping? Anyway, that tells you about my evil mind. Okay. Well, Deena, thank you for being on today. And thank you for all you do for Million Kids. I can't thank you enough. This has been the hardest year of Million Kids' life. Starting March 12th, we made our last presentation of the year, and that's about when I met Deena. And we had to change our whole business model to be able to survive. And quite frankly, many of you in the audience have supported our work this year, and I cannot tell you how much that means to me. You know, we have just been hanging by our teeth at times, and the workload is just unreal. I am always behind on my calls and like that. And because, you know, the cases just come through here, the number of people being exploited. You hear about the number of kids committing suicide. What you don't hear is the number of kids that send a naked photo, and it upsets the entire family, or the kid sneaks out in the middle of the night to meet up with them. And it is just an absolute tragedy that is not being discussed. And it was always difficult, but it is more difficult with COVID. So if there's any way that you can support our work, I would tell you how much it means to me. You can do that by going to millionkids.org, MILLION, millionkids.org. You can send a check. You can text on there and text a donation if you're like really savvy. You can, use your credit card. We'll even find a way to sell your car if you donate it, or a piece of land, or whatever you can do. We don't know what it takes, but whatever it takes, we're going to do it. We are committed to keeping kids safe from predators. Deena's here, Chris Kleiss is here, Kendrick is here, Ken Kidby is out there in a big way. And we just have a whole team of people to make this happen. And we cannot do it without you. We're not a big corporation, but we're a mighty corporation. And we are committed to keeping kids safe from predators. After this Supreme Court ruling, we have to double our speed, double our effort, and we have to find a way to engage as many people as we can and as much resources as we can to do prevention and intervention so that we can teach kids not to be vulnerable to those guys who are liable to get out early. And that's a crazy thing to see that happen all over again after we already got them put away. You folks have a great week. Put your arms around your kids. Tell them you love them. Tell your spouse you're proud of them. And we'll see you next Saturday at 3 o'clock. Have a great week.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the dark net will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift, Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep